there, what's going on, everybody? My name is Cole, aka Transpirit Indigo. I am a soul, much like yourself, having a human experience, and I am transgender. Today's video is about what it's been like for me to be a singer and also transgender. Please make sure to subscribe and like this video. Hit that like button if you like it. I appreciate everybody and helping me grow this channel. Okay, so let's get into it. I wanted to just briefly here give you the gist of my experiences as a singer, and I also happen to be transgender. Now, I have never been nominated for a Grammy. I do not have a major recording contract. I'm an indie folk rock singer-songwriter and always have been. I've been blessed and fortunate to record with some people who have done much bigger projects, and I've been able to grow by working with them, and I'm fortunate for that. My experiences as a singer, it's been very interesting, especially when I left my hometown of St. Louis. I began to meet new people and do things I wouldn't normally have done in one spot. Just things change. Los Angeles, it's a much different music scene. And then Reno, I've been there, and I love it. I love every place I've been fortunate enough to sing. Okay, so there's me. I've been doing it for 15 years. I've been singing in bars, venues, restaurants, farmers markets, funerals, private parties, weddings, anything, you name it. I even had a gig once at a grocery store, walking up and down the aisles, serenading people. I kid you not, that was one of the funniest and most fun gigs I ever had. Okay, so with all that being said, what is it like to be a transgender singer? Well, it's wonderful. I love being transgender. I didn't always. If you know anything, if you've watched any of my other videos, I definitely struggled in my younger years being transgender. I viewed it differently than I do now. I viewed it more as an issue. It's not an issue. It's who I am. And I love that. So as far as being a singer and tying that into being transgender, you see, a lot of things, it's like gender comes out more as like, okay, for instance, a locker room. A locker room is, oh, well, there's girl locker rooms and boy locker rooms. And some things, it's like gender is just up in your face. When it comes to singing, it does come up because, for instance, I'm going to make myself an example, of course. This whole video is about my experience. But for me, if I'm dressed in more masculine clothing, which I am, and I have a feminine voice, which I do, it quite often happens where people have something to say about it. They're confused, this and that. And it also depends a lot of times where I am located in the United States. And it also has been the time period. I don't really receive as much confusion about my gender as I did 10, 15 years ago. I think people are just more accepting these days. Not everybody, but more people are aware that there are humans that are more gender neutral. Now, I don't identify as non-binary or gender neutral. I may look the part. I do identify as a transgender male, but I have not transitioned. And as far as hormone replacement therapy or any sort of surgery, I don't plan to take any hormone replacements, but I have wondered about top surgery. That's a whole nother video, but I digress. So that's where I am, is where I have the feminine voice going on, and I also am dressing in what most people would consider are masculine clothes. So the cons of this, the issues on this whole subject about being transgender and being a singer, because gender can come up with that. The thing is that the audience is hearing my feminine voice, but they are seeing me dressed in what's considered masculine clothing. We place gender onto clothing. Because of this, I have had people over the years become very angry with me or question me, say rude things to me. A couple quick examples. There was one time on New Year's Eve, this lady, older lady in the bathroom, asked me, or she didn't ask me, she told me, you would be a much greater asset to your band if you dressed like a woman. And my response to her was, well, then I wouldn't be myself. And then she said, oh, well, that's what my grandson says. So I could see it was a projection. She was projecting her frustration with her grandchild onto me, and that wasn't right. Whatever. I went back on stage and I smiled right at her in the audience, and she didn't really like that. But I had to stay true to myself and who I am. That wasn't even that long ago. That one was like 4 years ago. So I was a little more well prepared for that. But years ago, because I started singing 15 years ago, 2005, I turned 21. So I started singing in the bars in St. Louis and then other types of venues. But way back in the day, there was one experience. It was more so out in like the country, a little more boonies, a little more like a less diversity. You know what I mean? Like the people out there weren't always cool about gay people overall. I mean, I'm just going to use the word gay as an umbrella term, but LGBTQ. I was out there, and I mean, because I'm from the Midwest, so you know, I was out there singing, and my friend luckily was in the restroom with me. She was in the stall, and this lady, this is the weirdest part, is this lady was like stereotypically looked like possibly a lesbian or transgender. She had short spiky hair and like a visor on and like masculine dude considered clothes. So I was confused as to why she was yelling at me. Maybe it was a projection. I have no idea. I didn't know this person. I don't know if they were out in the open or if they dressed like that and were like, I'm straight as can be. I love men. I have no idea. I don't really care. But I just wanted to add that it was quite strange that she came at me in the restroom screaming at me when she herself was dressed in masculine clothing. I digress. So I come out of the stall to wash my hands, and she starts screaming at me, "You're scaring those boys out there looking the way you do and sounding the way you do, little girl voice." and then I was not laughing at the time. And then she said, what was the last thing she said? Oh, how could I forget? "I know what you are. I know what you are." And it was scary because this lady was like 6 feet tall. I'm 5'7", and she was just like hovering over me, and it was terrifying. And it was a very, very small bathroom too. So my friend comes out of the stall, and you know she's very, very tough woman, and she's like, "What is she?" Called me she, because in those days I wasn't even talking about pronouns yet. But you know, so she had my back. You know, what are you talking? And the other lady backed off. I don't even remember what happened, but she basically backed off and like left the bathroom, and it was all said and done. But, you know, telling me that I'm freaking all those boys out, looking the way I do and sounding the way I sound, and just hearing stuff like that over the years has been, I mean, it's been hard, it's been rough, but it's never stopped me from doing what I love to do, which is singing. And dressing the way that I choose to dress, because that's who I am. If I put a dress on and had my boobs hanging out, oh my God, I would feel so uncomfortable, I'd probably just start to cry. And I appreciate boobs and I appreciate dresses, so I'm not trying to hate on either thing. But that's not who I am. That's not who I am. I don't identify as a female. I'm transgender and I identify as a male. I just haven't undergone any type of transition physically. So it's been an interesting journey as a singer, because, you know, I'll show up sometimes in a suit and people are like, "What's going on?" You know, they don't get it. But you know what? They don't have to get it. It's music. I'm just there to share music, because I love music. I appreciate anyone and everyone who's watched this video. Please like it if you enjoyed listening to my story about that. I appreciate all of you. And also, if you have any questions about this, if you're somebody who is like questioning if you should change your voice up and take the hormones. I'm curious how many people have not taken hormones, specifically hormone replacement, specifically because of their singing voice. I'm curious to that. Now, I've met somebody who is quite a well-known, fantastic singer, who he chose not to take hormones because of the same reason I did. And it was so cool to have that connection with him, like, because he's the first person I ever met personally that felt that way. I was like, oh my goodness, it was like brotherly love, like, oh, you too. But, you know, there's a lot of people that they've changed their voice, like I was saying earlier, and they absolutely love it. And they sound great. So to each their own, right? To each their own. Because the singing thing actually wasn't the only reason I haven't taken testosterone. Another reason is just my sensitivity to chemicals, like certain foods that I eat. I try not to take pharmaceutical drugs as much as I can. I love holistic, essential oils. I'm more of the holistic side of life. So that was another reason. But anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are, night, morning, and we'll see you next time.